What's up, good people? It's your boy, Leroy McKenzie Jr., the Impact Builder, coming to you on a Sunday. Like I told y'all, the grind includes Sunday. It don't stop, it don't stop, it don't stop. So we're here this Sunday live on Facebook, and we're coming to you with the brand new development series brought to you by JNF Enterprises LLC. Black professional men whose mission is to ensure the future of the African American male. And I have a special guest that joined me on a Sunday. He took part of his day to kind of bring to you all. So I consider it special. And the Ravens not playing today too. So we got a little break. They play tomorrow night. So so we had a chance to kind of do this. So we wanted to bring this to you all. But I'm going to introduce this young gentleman in a second. I'm going to let him introduce himself, tell you a little bit about who he is and just the great things that he has going on in with his organization, with his company, and then just here in the city of Baltimore, speakers, and y'all will learn more about that in a second. But we want to thank y'all for tuning in. It's the brand new development series, and what we do is we seek to bring you information, knowledge, and resources that will enlighten, empower, and impact you, and then also educate you, activate you, and elevate you. So that's what we'll do. And we're going to jump right in. And this gentleman that you see sitting, I guess looking at my screen, is to my left. I don't know which way it looks on him, but it's none other than, some of you all are quite familiar with him. He is a face about out and about. He is the voice of the Black Speakers Network, but I'm gonna let him tell you a little bit more about who he is, and that's none other than Mr. Brian J. O. How are you, sir?
Yeah, out here. Absolutely. What's going on, Leroy? Thank you so much. And yes, the grind does not stop on Sundays. And, Sundays is kind of like my, it's a work day, but it's also a preparation for what's ahead. So I think this is perfect. But no, I appreciate that, man. Thank you for having me on the show. Super excited. Shout out to Black professional men and the hardworking brothers in and around the Baltimore greater metropolitan area, ensuring the future of the Black professional male. And you know what? I'm people ask me who I am. I'm like, hey, I'm the skinny kid from Baltimore. Here, not as skinny these days, but certified introvert. For those who watching, I got my rocking the shirt right now. Certified introvert. And probably was the person voted least likely to run a speaker development network, let alone be a speaker or anything like that, man. So happy to be here and looking forward to a great conversation, man.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely, and that's what we're here. And I tell folks that this is just about having conversations about just about things that I think affect us, issues that affect us, and things that make us better as people. So I'm hoping that, well, my goal is always, and my mission is always to make people better after they see these conversations than they were before they heard or saw these conversations. So. I want to start off by asking you this. Now, you have your own company now. Was entrepreneurship something that was always in you, or was that something that you kind of grew to want to become and everything?
Yeah, no, my original goal, if you had been sitting on watching me sit on the living room floor in fifth grade, you would have found me glued to the television, man. I was the kid that loved watching the NASA space shuttle launches. And so I got really excited about STEM early on,
Really? Oh,
science,
okay.
technology, engineering, and math. That's probably why me and DJ Five Star, Kendrick get along so well. My original ambition was to be a literal rocket scientist. I wanted to be an aerospace engineer and an astrophysicist. And
Oh, wow.
I wanted to work at NASA and to be a part of sending rockets into space, part of the space shuttle program. And so that was my trajectory. And so in elementary school, middle school, I started getting excited about it, started, moving toward that path. But, in high school is when things, start getting real. That's when you
Okay.
start taking the algebra, the trig, the higher level math, stats 1, stats 2. And so, engineering, if you haven't figured out, engineering is all about math. So
Absolutely.
your ability to succeed is going to be closely correlated to how you do in those courses. And so for me, Leroy, that was the path that I was on. But I was in robotics competition. I remember competing, representing. I went to Mervo. That was the closest thing I could find to, engineering. Even though we had I don't want anybody at Poly coming at me, but like in my mind, when I had Tech, it was like, okay, let me get into like one of these, programs, even though it's more of a traditional trade. But yeah, that was my path. I wanted to be an engineer.
Mm,
Spent 2 years at Baltimore City Community College because I got accepted into a scholarship program there with the goal of transitioning into a 4-year college and university. Morgan State University came and knocking and said, hey, come on over here. We have a full scholarship waiting for you. And I said, okay. I had these dreams of going off to college, but, Morgan wrote the biggest check. And so I said, yes, and when I got to Morgan, Leroy, I was still struggling with these
mm,
math classes. And so, my journey has been like, hey, I'm sitting in a calculus 2 class.
mm.
30 minutes have gone by. I'm taking a test. Nothing is written on the paper. I have no idea what's going on.
Wow.
And I'm looking out the window for inspiration, and I finally see it. I look out the window and it's like the clouds parted, and I saw the answer to the test, and it was written on the side of a building. It was like the Earl G. Graves School of Business and
Mm,
Management. And so I was like, okay, I'm out. And so I left, engineering school, and I went into business. But that was my introduction. Like, I didn't grow up wanting to be an entrepreneur, man. I grew
mhm.
up wanting to be a technologist, a scientist, and I hit this brick wall that I didn't know how to overcome. And I jumped ship. I quit, and I went to business. I still really didn't know what business school was. I just knew it was easier than, trying to find a limit to an equation. So that was kind of how that set up. But ironically, though, there was I had one, nobody in my family, to my knowledge, was an entrepreneur. So we didn't grow up talking about business. And this is something that we have a lot of conversations now in Black Speakers Network, which is,
Mhm.
first generation entrepreneur. So I
Yeah.
was kind of first generation college student, first generation entrepreneur. We're trying to like figure it out. But there were actually a lot of influences in pop culture when I'm looking on TV, and I would see people who were, entrepreneurs or, self-made men. I was like, oh, wow, that kind of stuck in the back of my brain. And I have specific examples, but basically that was the only thing I had to go off of.
Wow. No, and that's a great story because I tell you this. I lived up the street from Morgan, and one of the things that Morgan has always been known for are two departments. One is their engineering, and then second is the other one is the Earl Grave School of Business. It has always been one of those things that's just been known. I mean, my school UMES was known for agriculture. It was actually known for hospitality, and you tell that story about the calculus one, calculus two. When I went down to UMES, I had every intention of being a doctor. I was biology major. I mean, I was gonna be in it, Brian. That was gonna be me. And I lied to you not. My first semester, and this for anyone that goes to school, please don't do this. I'm gonna tell y'all, please don't do this. My first semester, freshman year, I had calculus, I had biology one, chemistry one, um, just the hardest classes that you could imagine
Yeah.
taking your first semester in school in college as a freshman. That was me. And it can, I mean, it was like I was just like, what am I doing? And and like you, the clouds parted. It was like I changed my major My second going into my second year because I stayed my sophomore year, but my sophomore year, I changed my major to hotel restaurant management down there because I knew a couple of people that were there and told me about the program, just the great things that it was doing, and everything like that, and didn't look back, didn't look back from that decision that I made, and so it's it. Trust me, most of us change our majors, several
You look
several
at it
times.
like pre-med to like
Yep,
restaurant management, like it's about as far away as you can get from like
yep.
surgery on people.
Absolutely, absolutely. And it truly was. And like I said, it was one of the best decisions that I made because of the things that the track that it put me on, just the things that were instilled in me just from being in that particular major, and and everything like that. So that was just that was awesome. I like that story that you told because it just goes to show that all of us, we can have these big dreams of what we want to do, but ultimately things don't always go exactly how we necessarily think that they should turn out and everything like that. So,
They don't.
um,
Yep.
tell me this. We're here. We wanted to talk about today. We wanted to talk about ecosystems, and when, like I told you before we came on, I told you that this was something that when I thought about this, I thought about you, and I thought about you because of your company and the way I've seen you and I've known each other for. I was thinking about that today too. I was like, man, we've known each other for a good minute, man,
Yeah, we go way back like
way
crazy.
back. But and I thought that you would be a perfect person to have this conversation about because I've seen the growth of you and your business, and I've seen when I think of ecosystems, I think of how we build our businesses and we build ourselves personally with that. Can you tell me? Let's first. Can you define for people what an ecosystem is? And then we'll get into talking about how businesses should go about building a ecosystem, and then how that can transfer over into your personal life too.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think, for me, it kind of started with anytime that I'm looking to develop any aspect of myself, whether it's learning how to cycle, tennis, whatever, I'm always the first thing I do is seek out a community. I'm looking for people that I can connect with who are like-minded. That's how I ended up in BPM. That's how I ended up in Toastmasters. And in the speaking
Mm,
realm, it was the same. I was looking around for organizations and associations that I could be around people who are current inspiring professional speakers. And so not finding, I found some, but I just, there were nuances about the community I wanted to create that weren't necessarily present or emphasized in the communities that I found. And so that was there. So I think it kind of starts with that aspect of like, making sure that you can create something to put you in an environment where you could have access to other people, have access to resources, and also have an example of where you could potentially go. And so within BSN, we of course are a speaker development and training community. Our mission is to equip, connect, and inspire the next generation of Black professional speakers. But if you dissect that mission statement, equip becomes, hey, we're providing training and education. And so what do speakers need? Like many speakers are trying to figure out the speaking business and the nuances that are included in that. And so we developed a framework, and we can talk about that later, but we developed a framework for how to grow your speaking business, connect, building relationships and having the ability to really understand, it's one thing to read a book and be like, oh, that's a marketing strategy. This is how you, develop a, social media strategy. This is how you build a signature keynote. It's one thing to read it, was another thing to hear real-time feedback of, oh, here's how Leroy closed a customer yesterday. Here's how this person got their first training contract. Here's how this person like landed a paid speaking opportunity. And so within there, your ability to get around people who are a little bit ahead of where you are and get around people who are really at your level and be able to share best practices is extremely, extremely powerful. It's one of the reasons why, live instruction, now during COVID and everything like that, everybody's like, oh, we miss, what do you hear? We miss the in-class experience. And that's part of the experience is, being able to you not just learn from the person that's teaching you, but also learn from the people that are going through that experience at the same time as you are. And then also, Leroy, I also truly feel that in this interconnectivity of an ecosystem, of a community, there's also another more powerful thing that emerges, which is the ability to teach what you know as you're learning it. And
Mm.
so my background, I spent 2 years as a full-time professional trainer on a corporate side. And then I went back to school to study instructional design and adult learning. And one of the things I realized is that, like, if you really want to test your ability, like if you really think you know something, the best way to test your ability or your competency around a specific area, how well you know it, is try teaching it to somebody else.
Mm.
If you could teach something to someone else and they get it and they're actually able to do something with it, then it is a measure of mastery of that topic. And so in a community, in an ecosystem, you have that opportunity. Some of our best presentations are coming from, individuals who are already Black Speakers Network members, but they've achieved very specific win in a aspect of their business, and they're coming back in to teach what they did. So you got equip, you got connect, and then obviously you have inspire, which is, being able to, share the success stories, the wins in real time as to serve as inspiration to others. I mean, that's the reason why award shows, you have the Grammys, the Oscars, the VMAs, and there's all types of, if you take away the controversy around like how those things are selected and, diversity and all that, the core purpose is to provide inspiration for other people, to set the standard of excellence and to push that along the way. And I think a healthy ecosystem includes that component. And so that's what we strove for with BSN.
Absolutely, absolutely. Now, was building a ecosystem a part of um, your business plan when you originally when you were sitting down developing what you wanted to do and when you saw the BSN? Was that a part of your thinking in doing that? And how important is that?
Yeah. So I think intuitively, I knew we needed to have some sort of connecting atmosphere where we're doing all these things. But I would say no.
Mhm,
Like we
mhm.
started with a Twitter page and a website, like everybody else, and it was kind of a situation where it was like, hey, let me start. Let me start where I am, what we have. So I started Black Speakers Network in 2016 in my bedroom and built all of those things like overnight. And so when we started the things like the BSN Facebook community, which now has, about 11,000 people in it, I didn't know 11,000 people. I know like 12 people and like Toastmasters or from Morgan State University. So start with your own network and grow from there. But I do think that in 2020 and beyond, as we go into the next year and stuff like that, I fully believe that any modern brand should give very intentional focus to creating a healthy ecosystem. And it comes in a couple different ways. I mean, because when you think about your company, you're not just building communities of customers, but you also have, folks who are kind of sitting on the outside, but they're not ready to be your customers yet. And so how are you indoctrinating them into your culture? Like, how are you sharing information with them? Are you adding them to an email list? Are you nurturing a relationship? Are you creating a Facebook community or a LinkedIn community or something where they could still connect with you until they're at that point where you are ready to serve them? So you have, kind of aspiring or future clients. You have current clients, of course, but you also have other things. You have partners within BSN. One of our biggest programs, one of my most successful programs that's intimately tied to our business model is our platform partner program. And so
Mm.
if you're a speaker and you come in and you're like, I need help. I'm like, okay, Leroy, what do you need help with? You're like, well, I need to, I'm trying to publish a book, or I'm trying to get a speaker video or a speaker website, or a press kit, or I need help developing my signature keynote message. Yeah, I'm not doing all
Right,
all of those
right,
things. And
right,
so
right.
we built a partnership network with people who specialize in those specific areas. And so I could say, hey, Leroy, here, talk to Andy Henriquez about this, talk to Danielle Tuck about this, talk to Quinn Kynes about this. And so it's providing an opportunity not only to grow not only to create and build business attached to BSN, but it's also giving the members of our clients more access to better resources at the same time. And so that's what I would say is the biggest thing. Everybody talks about, and I love what Dr. George Fraser says. He's like, ideas are good, but systems are better. And it's like ideas are great, but a system is better. So like, let me give you an example of a great idea. Like buy black is an idea. It's a good concept. We should buy black. We should, support black businesses and do all these things. But with an absence of a mechanism to facilitate the exchange of products and services, that black people have, it's probably not going to happen. So what does that look like? Those are things like black directories, black marketplaces, black events, so it doesn't happen by accident. You have to purposely create these systems, and somebody has to, take that model in their mind and translate it into something in the real world that works. And I feel like we're continuously striving to do that every day.
Yeah, absolutely. And like I said, Black Speakers Network is to me the ultimate place that you want to go. If you're looking to be a speaker, it's going to put you in a position to be able to be successful, not only with your, what your goal is from a speaker perspective, but also as being a business, because you have a built-in you got a built-in ecosystem right there where, like you just said, you gave the example. If I need this, I know I can get there. If I need this, I can go. I can get here. All of those pieces are right there. The model is right there for me. And one of the things that I learned, and I'll ask you this: how important it is for business planning to have that when you're planning for those that are starting out in their business. Because you and I talked about it when we started our businesses. We didn't know we weren't thinking in terms of an ecosystem and everything like that. But now we understand it, and as you can see the picture behind me on my screen, it's Black Wall Street, and to me that's the ultimate ecosystem that we have as a blueprint of what it looks like. And when we do that and we understand how important it is to have it built into what we're doing, what we're striving to do, I think you're more apt to be successful. I think one of the reasons why businesses aren't successful in that first 5 year time frame, which is the most important years, is because we don't have what you just said, which is the most important thing, are those systems in place to be successful. And if we surround ourselves with other individuals and other businesses that have that same mindset, have that same kind of those systems in place, it gives us the ability to be able to be more successful, more successful. So, what do you think? What does I guess a business plan for someone who is looking to start a business? Um, is it a good tool to have? Say, hey, how do I incorporate that into my business plan and what I'm trying to do as a business?
Yeah, well, I think inherently, and I agree, kind of what you said too. Like, I think it's incredibly valuable. I think, I don't think there's sometimes inherent value in the plan itself,
Mhm. Right,
because
right, right.
like Mike Tyson said, which
Yep.
it's not too often you get the chance to quote Mike Tyson, but he's
For sure.
like, everybody has a plan until they get punched in the face.
Yep. Absolutely.
um so the plan itself, I don't think is as valuable as the process and the revelations that you have in creating the plan and doing the due diligence to get to the place where you're ready to launch this. Because by the time the ink dries on the plan, it's already probably obsolete, because you are, as an entrepreneur, working with changing market conditions, consumer appetites, technology, legal environment. We're in the middle of a pandemic. Like, things are constantly shifting. And so you could have the strategy, but the tactics in which you deploy on a day-to-day, week-to-week, quarter-to-quarter basis are going to evolve. And so, but I think the process, the revelations that you reveal are going to be important. I think the other important thing about business is it also provides you with a starting point of being able to scale, because regardless of it, part of the challenge that goes back to what you were saying before and the value of the ecosystem is that sometimes we put a lot of pressure on ourselves to think like we have to be the ones to do everything. And certainly, entrepreneurs, we're always going to wear many hats. You're going to be the CEO. You might start off as the chief financial officer, chief marketing officer, chief operations officer, chief salesperson, and so you're doing all these things. But the reality is that unless you plan to, stay at the same level forever, you're going to have to scale. And scale means bringing other people into your organization. And that could look a lot of different ways. Right now, we're developing our very first, comprehensive talent strategy in BSN in years. And we have a team of 11 people, but none of them are full-time employees. We have 1099 contractors, we have partners who have their own businesses that we work with, but you still have to think through those things. But the more important, the more you have written down, the easier it is to communicate and actually start the process of bringing those people on and expanding your enterprise and get ready to scale. So that's the thing that I think is most valuable, other than the plan itself. Obviously, if you are in the tech space, or you're developing some sort of enterprise where you're going after funding, then that's a given. Like, nobody in that world, nobody's going to give you money if you don't have the stuff written down. But I would say, even for folks where you're not going after like traditional like funding and stuff like that, it still has the value of giving you something to go back. And once you start down the path, you already, like, stuff is coming at you so fast, things are changing so quickly. You don't always have the benefit of keeping everything in your head, because by the time you come back to it, you're like, oh wow, I forgot I even had this idea. And so I think kind of keeping a record of your own thought process, and as you learn new information that continues to shift as well, is really valuable.
Absolutely, absolutely. Now, can you give the viewers and listening audience your 3 steps, or just 3 steps to building a successful ecosystem, and kind of what that framework looks like?
Yeah, I mean, and for us, I mean, this actually ties into what we teach in BSN, because
Mhm.
a lot of times, everybody, Leroy, when you come into BSN, the number one question is, "Hey, how do I find paid speaking engagements?" Like, that's the number one
I'm
like
sure.
question.
Yep.
Put me on stage, pay me $5,000. It's not a bad question. I mean, who wouldn't want to
Mhm.
get $5,000? But I think the thing about it is, we've developed a 5-part framework, and I'll get into the 3 things that you mentioned. So, um, for speakers, I believe they need to get clarity on, your mission, your message, marketing, how to monetize, and then how to manage your speaking business. So that's where we focus. But if you dive into that first M of mission, I think the answer to your question is there when it comes to building ecosystems as well, because one of the models that we talk about is developing your speaker sweet spot. And this is really the same for any business. It really doesn't matter if you're starting a
Right.
bakery or barbershop or a
Yep.
bank. You have to get clarity on your speaker sweet spot. And so with that, or the sweet spot for your business. So with that, I would say for any ecosystem, it comes down to those three things. So the first thing is your passion. What is it that you really, really care about, and not something that's just kind of like a fleeting interest, but what have you been championing for years? Like,
Mm.
what have you been talking about? What have you been praying about? What have you, like, even if you weren't being paid, you would not be able to shut up about this specific topic. That is probably a good indication that you're passionate about it, because times are going to get hard. You're going to have some dark days, and we always say in the speaking business, this is a marathon, not a sprint. And so getting people, when you adopt a long-term mindset about your business and your brand, you make different decisions than you do if you're just trying to figure out how to not run out of money before the end of the month. You build relationships differently. You talk to people differently. Your marketing copy looks different when you have like this long-term mindset. So I'll say passion is one. Number two is expertise. Um, expertise. And so really looking at those things that you do well, better than anybody else, or at least, what are those things that you can bring to the table where you have proven results in your own life, or you have demonstrated, helped other people achieve results in their life or in their business. And so I think, um, people are looking for what makes you different and what makes you unique, and that's a really big part of it. And it's separate from your passion because, Leroy, you probably know a lot of people who have been in careers or started businesses, and, they've done it 10, 20, 30, 40 years, but it's not what they care about anymore. It's not, it doesn't drive them from day to day. They're off, somewhere else. And so, yeah, I believe you have to have both of those. And then the third piece that kind of wraps everything together is market demand. And so within market demand, we're really answering the question, what do people really want? What do they
Mm.
like? What pain are you alleviating? What problem are you solving for people? And here is the one that I think is so easy to skip over, when we think of, these ecosystems, because oftentimes it's like, oh, well, if I'm just passionate about something, people will come, and not necessarily true. Like, you still have to be offering something that is going to be, valuable to the marketplace, and that people are really going to, whip out their credit card and pay for. Otherwise, it just becomes a hobby. And so I think those three pieces, passion, really thinking about your passion, your expertise, like what you bring to the table from your experience, and what the market is asking for. The intersection of those three areas, it really is the starting point to building a thriving ecosystem, because you're going to be, it's kind of like, starting a farm. And, to use the ecosystem analogy, just like in nature, there has to be balance, right? If you introduce like something into an ecosystem in nature, and it can't handle it, it's going to break down. So you have to have balance between, these three things. Is extremely important. And you want to make sure that, as an entrepreneur, you're not, you know, going down a path that's really not sustainable. And so being able to check against these three areas, I think, will produce, something that actually is not only going to, be really a positive experience for you as an entrepreneur, but also can be lucrative as well. My whole thing, Leroy, you probably heard this before, like every single day, my thing breaks to have fun, make money, make an impact. Like it may not in that order, but every single day, you know, if we have some fun, which this is like fun, you know, if we are making money, you know, keeping the business alive and moving forward, and we're making an impact in the lives of others, then it's a win.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely, absolutely. I love that. I love that because there's so many people. I believe that they and I found this in one of the books that I've written when I was doing the research and talking to people. I found so that there were so many people who were unhappy in their jobs and what they were doing on a day-to-day basis.
So,
And I was even at one point, I was there where it was just like I literally hated to wake up because I knew. I mean, when it gets to that point, it's time to walk away. I literally was just like, I hated having to go into this place every day, and I was just like, I've got to do something about this, and I've got to change that. And when you do that, when you have fun at what you're doing, it makes it so much easier for you to be able to do what you do, and like you said, to making money on top of it, and then impacting people's lives on top of that is just the is the icing on the cake and everything like that. So let's talk a little bit about Black Speakers Network. I want you to talk a little bit about that. I want you to tell people where did the idea come from for the Black Speakers Network? Was that the original name for it? Did you have something else for it, or was it just like you had this epiphany? It was just like, oh, I want to do speaking.
nah, well, my entry point into speaking, as you probably know, Leroy. So, you know, like I said, I started Black Speakers Network in 2016, but to go 10 years back in the story is where that started. And so, you know, if you've been sitting next to me in a small classroom at Morgan State University in the summer of 2006, you would have seen me, again, skinny kid, introvert kid from Baltimore, stand up, walk to the front of the room, and prepare to deliver my very first speech in Toastmasters.
Okay.
And for everyone listening, and you're like, what the heck is Toastmasters? Toastmasters is basically a club with international presence that you can join to practice presentation skills and public speaking, and you get feedback and all of this. So it's great. So you can go to toastmasters.org to check that out. But that was me. I was getting ready to deliver my very first speech, and if you were, you know, sitting close enough, you absolutely would have noticed my like, sweaty palms, the voice, you know, starting to crack to the weight of the pressure. About 30 seconds in, I was trying to figure out what to do with this nervous energy, Leroy. So I'm pacing back and forth. Then I'm out of the room, made my way back in, and the speech was only like 4 minutes long. So
Oh
it was a
wow.
very short presentation. But all this stuff was happening on the inside. What people could exactly well on the inside, what people could see is the butterflies. You know, they always say when you're nervous, it feels like you have butterflies in your stomach. In my particular case, these weren't like the Discovery Channel kind of monarch, you know, the peaceful ones. These were like the Hannibal Lecter style, like, you know, crashing into each other, you know, about to bust out of my chest. So that's what I was dealing with. And so after that 4 minutes of agony, you know, I prepared to make my way back to my seat, wrapped up my presentation, and I noticed three things. You know, one, you know, I was still alive. You know, I was really good thought that I was going to die on the spot, and that didn't happen. The second thing I realized is that everyone was clapping. They gave me a round of applause and standing ovation. And later on, I found out in Toastmasters, if you all ever visit a club, you'll realize that Toastmasters, you know, we pretty much clap for everything. Like if you bring, you know, like your lunch to the meeting, like you're probably going to get a round of applause, but made me feel good at the time. But the third thing I realized as it relates to this story is that um, I not only survived my first presentation, but you know, I actually didn't do that bad. And if I could deliver one presentation, I could probably deliver two. And then a couple weeks later, I delivered my second presentation, and then it was a little bit better. But you know, two turned into four, four turned into eight. I personally, you know, started speaking outside out of Toastmasters, developed my own content, you know, we started like speaking was in me. I was like, okay, not only can I do this, but in Toastmasters, there's also this role called an evaluation. And so one of the things that I really appreciated was not only the fact that we were able to get up and speak, but we were getting better each time. It was up to the club members to actually find areas where you can improve. And so for me, it wasn't just about speaking, even though I still like enjoy speaking. I've delivered 25 speaking engagements this year. Multiple podcasts. I think this is like my 40th podcast or something this year. Like, speaking is fine. But what I enjoy more, and I discovered through that Toastmasters experience, was that I really love connecting speakers with the audience that they are called to serve. And a lot of times it's not even as it's particularly at that level. It's not like Toastmasters is for like professional speakers. Most people join Toastmasters to get over the fear of just standing in front of an audience delivering a presentation. So most people want to refine their interview skills, or give better presentations at work, or give better, presentations in school and stuff like that. So, but yeah, I started realizing that, there are some people here with some really powerful messages. And if they just harness it, they could probably do a lot of great work in the world just with the power of their voice, and probably not even realizing that there was a professional speaking industry. And so Black Speakers Network came about because I really wanted a way to build that community. And coming from an HBCU, Morgan State University, it was kind of like it was disappointing to me not to see the representation, the diversity of speakers, both in terms of age, racial demographics, and gender, in some of the circles I was showing up in. And so, not seeing that, I just started it, and I was like, you know what, we can be unapologetic with this. A lot of people was like, oh well, why don't you just call it like Global Speakers Network, or like All-Star Speaker Network, or something like that. And I'm like, nah, like we need, like, I want to know, like, what I saw at Morgan, I don't think was a fluke. Like, I think that there are millions, not hundreds, not thousands, not hundreds of thousands. I think there are millions of people who have a message that um, they have a message, they have a story, they have content, they have experience, and it's not like it'd be nice if they shared their story. I think what happens is there are some people that only you can reach, Leroy. Like, they can hear me all day long. They can even hear like Les Brown. They can hear Lisa Nichols. They can hear Eric Thomas. They can hear John Maxwell. They can hear, whoever name. And it's not going to impact them the same way as it would from them hearing from Leroy. So realizing those two things, I'm like, yeah, we got to do this. And so, yeah, Black Speakers Network, BSN, we were off and running, and I was determined to figure out a way to identify as well as connect and grow the next generation of Black professional speakers. And by the way, when we say next generation, not even really talking about age. We're just talking about people who self-identify, like, because you can be 50 years old, 70 years old, doesn't matter. But if you're like, man, you know what? Yeah, I have been, I like how Quinn Conyers, she always says, our voices have been like muted and muzzled. And I agree, like, but sometimes we mute ourselves.
Yeah.
And so now it's like, hey, not only is this something that you can do, but if you stick with us, we can show you the tools, the strategies, the shortcuts, the best practices to not only have a powerful message, but also monetize it along the way.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, talk a little bit about some of the products and services that a speaker can get when they come into the BSN, the Black Speakers Network.
Yeah, so we take it back to that model. So mission, message, marketing, monetization, and management. For M, part of it is just clarity. Like, what do I like? Who is my like target market? And so one of the things that we spend time with, particularly with new speakers, is helping them get clarity on what type of speaker they are, what problem are they solving in the marketplace, and what's differentiating them from everybody else. And so one of the things that one of the easy models that we have for that is called the 4 Ps. And so it's getting absolute clarity on, who's the person that you're solving. So you can't be like, oh, well, I speak to women. Well, there's 7 billion people on the planet. About half of them are women. So you're not going to talk to 4 billion people. So let's get a little bit more clear. But like, who's your person? What is the specific, some people like to say problem, but I like to say pain. So what specific pain are you solving for people? What is your promise? So like, what is the end result that you're delivering people out of? And what's your process in order to get there? And so, what's the step-by-step journey that you're going to take people down? And so through coaching, through programs, we have that. And mission, we are helping people develop a signature keynote. We just had 4 people this past week go through the Master Storytelling Academy with Andy Henriquez. And that's a phenomenal experience where you actually get to refine your signature story. There are 6 types of stories that you actually need as a speaker to master. So we have that program available. From a marketing perspective, most speakers are going to, at a minimum, need 5 things. That's a professional speaker bio, a speaker website, video. You're going to need like a press kit, and you're also going to need to ensure that you have a strategy to deploy all that into the marketplace. And so and we have people to help with all of that, within BSN, not to mention, like all types of specialty things. So if you need to learn how to run Facebook ads, we got a Facebook ads expert. We have, one of, Google digital suite experts. So anything that you need from like a digital marketing perspective, you can find within BSN. And then the 4th and 5th, I'll just put them together, like Monetize and Manage. We are helping speakers really build the products and the services that they're going to use to get paid, whether they're on stage or not. And so whether that's developing your signature course, developing your coaching program, writing your first book. This past year, or actually last month, we launched Black Speakers University. And so now we have specific courses. These are live instructor-led courses where you can come in and learn how to write your book, how to build your speaker website, how to pitch yourself. And so those are the things that, you can get products and services wise. As a member, you get access to all of that. Plus, we also are sending you speaking opportunities every single week. So you're getting speaking leads, you're getting added to our BSN directory. We just launched a new podcast directory, Leroy. And so, we're partnering with hundreds of other Black podcast owners who are looking for speakers. So we have a direct channel to go there. We launch our own signature events that we put speakers on stages. So we have our first event coming up. Our first signature event coming up on January 1st called Enough is Enough. And so we have a myriad of ways to, ensure that speakers are getting access to more speaking opportunities, that they're educating themselves on how to grow and manage an effective speaker business, and they're getting the visibility that they're looking for in terms of connecting with their ideal audience.
That's awesome. And you kind of might have answered this question into with all of that you just encapsulated there. But what separates the Black Speakers Network from other speaker networking organizations and everything that are out there today?
Yeah, well, I mean, I honestly don't know of too many like core speaker.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say too.
Yeah, so and just to get kind of paint the landscape a little bit, so there are professional associations that kind of have like specific purposes. I think the biggest is like NSA, so National Speakers Association, which even now we're starting to develop a great partnership with. The president-elect of the DC chapter is a BSN member, and so it was always my goal when I started BSN to be somewhat of a pipeline into organizations like NSA. So I don't think we really like compete in that way. If anything, I think we complement by specifically focusing on an aspect of diversity that it might be a little bit more challenging for them to do. We're certainly the largest in terms of volume,
Yeah.
being, with 11,000, members in the community. I think we're in like 35 countries.
Wow.
We're in just about every state in the U.S., Canada. We have. I was just on a call a couple of days ago with one of our new members in Lagos, Nigeria, and South
Seriously? Oh, wow. That's awesome.
the UK. So, the international footprint, and this isn't even like a purposeful thing. I mean, we're thinking about global, particularly, the Caribbean, Africa, and Canada. Like Toronto is like our fifth largest market, I think. But like we're focused on the US, but
Mhm.
we're connecting globally. And so
Right.
now, without focusing on it specifically, we have presence in these markets. And so, but I think the main thing, Leroy, is that, we're not a speakers bureau. So, a speakers bureau is primarily there to connect. The primary customer to a speaker bureau is the company or the organization that's hosting. So it's like, hey, let me have this inventory of speakers, find the best speaker. Our model is, let's grow our speakers so that they can go after whatever opportunity that they want or create whatever opportunity they want. And so it's putting the power back into the hands of the people. And a lot of times I think with speaker bureaus, not to take anything away from them, but often with speaker bureau type models, the by the time you get to a point where a speaker bureau could be really effective for you, you're already great at marketing yourself. Like you built an established brand, so now that makes you more easily marketable. And so we want to work with people that are raising their hand, like, hey, I want to be a speaker. Tell me what to do next. And we're like, okay, we got you. Plus, our membership is $250 a year. So it's like $25 a month, very affordable. So it's like, we're not asking you for thousands of dollars to get started. We're not creating this superficially high barrier to entry. It's more like, hey, if you're ready to do the work, then we're ready to work with you to ensure that you're getting access to what you need. So, yeah, I really haven't come across really any other entities that approach our the ecosystem model the way that
Yeah,
we.
man. Hey, that's why I wanted to talk to you because of, I mean, you just laid out what, I mean, and I'm going to ask you, how can someone join the BSN? But that's just the things that you just talked about that they get being a part of that. It's a built-in ecosystem for you. You can come in and boom, just plug yourself in and say, hey, I need, it's like like going to Walmart and say, I need this, I need this, I need this, and I need this. So yeah, tell the viewers if they're interested. Someone maybe a speaker, someone maybe an aspiring speaker, and they say, hey, the Black Speakers Network sounds like where I need to be. How can they join the BSN?
Yeah, I can answer that, and I just want to dovetail on that last part because I was right before we got onto this interview. I was talking with one of our members. Her name is Constance Craig Mason, and she was president at our Global Speaker Summit this year. Relatively new member, but I did a presentation called "Visibility, Credibility, and Consistency" there, and you know she's taking the information and running with it. So now, just in a matter of 2 months, she's launching her own book anthology project. She's launching her own multiple event series in 2021. She's created an entire new business to umbrella all of those things under. She's right now speaking on another radio platform that we connected her through Black Speakers Network. And so like the opportunity is there. The question is only that it's not a question anymore 2020 of, oh, forget COVID, forget whatever. Like we have speakers doing stuff every single day, like constant. So the question is, are you ready? And if
Mm,
you are, then, the easiest way to connect with us and to even join is to, you have to apply. Everybody applies for membership. So I invite you to apply. You can go to blackspeakersnetwork.com. That's blacks with an S, speakersnetwork.com. Go to the website, you click apply. That doesn't work. I mean, right now we're in a Google age, Leroy. So, there's no other Black Speakers Network. So if you forget all that, Google Black Speakers Network, go to the website and click apply, and you can do it. But I absolutely think that if you have a message that you're called to serve, if you have an audience that you're called to serve, you have a message that you're ready to give. I think if you don't want to, and Leroy, as you know, entrepreneurship can be such a lonely journey. So if you
Yeah,
don't want to go on a journey by yourself, and if you just want to get access to resources, speaking opportunities, and increase your visibility, then I highly am encouraged. I highly encourage you guys to check out Black Speakers Network, and I'm ready to help and support any way I can.
absolutely. Now 2020 is coming to an end. We got what, maybe 3 weeks, 4 weeks left in this year. What's next for you and Black Speakers Network in 2021?
Oh yeah, I mean, we're just getting started. I think I mentioned to you we have this signature event series, and so we will be hosting multiple virtual summits throughout the course of the year, focused on, we have 10 specific areas of expertise within our community. So that's everything from STEM, health and wellness, the one this upcoming January is focused on Black estate planning. And so we're talking about getting your will in place, your power of attorneys, your, all the stuff that you need to, make sure that the transfer of wealth is facilitated in the Black community. And so things like that. I think we've evolved beyond the point of just, being a speakers network. I think that's still at the core, but more importantly, we don't just have 11,000 speakers. We have 11,000, thought leaders, experts. Some are doctors, lawyers, people who have deep expertise in their industry, professors, people that are doing cutting edge research. And so now that we have this platform that we built, we can begin to create forums where we can create conversations just like you do, Leroy, so effectively at things that are disproportionately affecting the Black community, and come to the table with solutions for that, and move the conversation forward. And so I'm really excited about that. And I think the ecosystem model works really well, because you always hear like a rising tide raises all ships. And so whether you're a member, whether you're a platform partner, whether you're a sponsor, or whether you're just a supporter or somebody in our community, you will all benefit by collectively investing in the tools and resources to get us to the next phase.
Absolutely, absolutely, man. And I can't let you get out of here without talking about that. You got it's sitting up the top of your shelf up there. You got it in a nice frame. But I want you to talk about the book that you all have available, and then how people can contact you. And if they want you to come, if they want you to be a speaker, if they want you to speak at an event or anything like that, how they can connect with you. And then even the BSN, if they're looking to have speakers come to speak at their event, how they can connect to have that.
Yeah, great question. So yeah, that is, well, I guess the side. So yeah, everything's like reverse
I
work.
know, right?
So yeah, Speak Up. So this is our number one best-selling book, Speak Up: The Ultimate Guide to Dominate the Speaking Industry. It came out last year, and so within it, there are 35 chapters that specifically go into those 5 M's that I mentioned. I highly recommend grabbing a copy. You can grab it on Amazon, or if you like a free e-copy, then you can join the Black Speakers Network group on Facebook, and you actually will email you a copy for free. So if you just join the group, you get a copy as long as you put in your email when you join. If you don't put your email, then you don't get one. So can't help you with that. But so that's that. Highly recommend it. I think if folks are looking to leverage Black Speakers Network to find speakers for your events, we have a mechanism on our site to do that. And so you just go to blackspeakers.com, click on request a speaker, and you can actually you can even browse our speaker directory. You can actually search. So if you're searching like diversity or, you know, financial planning, whatever you're searching for, it will pull up the speakers for that area of expertise. You can also search for speakers by city, by state,
Oh, wow.
or by area of expertise. And then if all that is too much work, if you want us to do the search, just submit your event to us. There's a button on the page that says request a speaker, and then fill out the information, and then we will actually send that out to our speakers. And so we do that on an ongoing basis. And if anybody wants to connect with me, I think, you know, LinkedIn is probably the easiest way. They could do that, or they can just go to my website, brianjoles.com, and submit a request that way. And I'll be happy to chat with anybody or serve anybody that they need. So yeah, man, I'm here to serve, Leroy.
Absolutely, man. Brian, this is it's always a pleasure to have a conversation with you. One, because I learn something every time that I sit and talk with you, but then I also know that you're doing some just great and phenomenal things, and I enjoy being around people whose mission it is to serve. Because I've always said this, that that we, when you build the impact, you when you build the impact, you change the world. And when you live to serve, you're doing just that. You're building impact because you're impacting people, and you're impacting things all over the place, and you affect change. And to me, that's what the Black Speakers Network represent. It represents changing people. Oh man, you're in 35 countries. That is just phenomenal. I'm like, man, that is just powerful. That is powerful. And I appreciate you taking out, time out on your Sunday to be able to talk with us, and talking about the BSN and the ecosystem, and building an effective ecosystem. So for y'all that are looking to build as a model, this is a model of how you network, how you actually can get engaged with other individuals that are doing, that are going to equip you with things that you need in order to be able to build your business, whether it's a speaker business or whether it's your business just in general. You'll be able to do that just looking at that model. We have models out there, and like I was telling Brian, you look behind me, this is the model that I say is the blueprint for us, the Black Wall Street. It gives us what we need. It gave everything that we needed inside within our community. Just as the Black Speakers Network within its community, it says, hey, we're going to make sure that you have everything that you need within us, because here are the things that we know that as a speaker you're going to need. And there's nothing more I think attractive to people than convenience. If I can go one
Right.
place and get everything, ask Walmart, ask those businesses that understand convenience. And I've noticed that just from years ago, in the just in general, when it came to businesses, that a couple of businesses that I'd worked for and seen, they built that model that everything was about having it right there for you. And that's what a strong ecosystem does for you. So thanks for Brian for sharing the knowledge, the information, the resources. I appreciate you. Give your website one more time where they can go to learn more about the Black Speakers Network, and then we'll close out.
Yeah, blackspeakersnetwork.com. You can also follow us on Instagram at Black Speakers Network, or join the Facebook community. To do that, you just go into Facebook and type in Black Speakers Network, and come get your free book and come hang out with us. We do a free training every Thursday, speaker development class. So come on in. Looking forward to working and partnering. And Leroy, thank you for this opportunity. Thank you for continuing to just be a beacon of like light and inspiration, and a community resource for so many people, man. And yes, the work continues. So appreciate you.
Absolutely. Absolutely, man. So thank you. I want to thank everybody for tuning in. This is the brand U Development Series, brought to you, of course, by JNF Enterprises, LLC, and Black Professional Men, whose mission is to secure the future of the African American male. And as I always say, we're in 2020. We got like 3 weeks left, but we're finishing fast. We're moving fast and furious. We're moving with purpose and passion. And then we want to build the impact, because when you build the impact, you change the world. And we got organizations and individuals such as Brian Olds who are definitely building impact and changing the world, one speaker at a time, one business at a time. So we want to thank y'all for tuning in, and we will talk to you all next time.